I go by Lisa. 29-year-old me works in an office. It was during a matchmaking function that I met Josh, my husband. I've never been in a relationship and have always placed a strong emphasis on my academics. I attended an all-girls high school. I was unable to come out of my shell and concentrate on my schoolwork, even in college. After I obtained a job, I entered the workforce right away. I put a lot of effort and enjoyment into my work. I was getting more and farther away from love every day. I turned 30 years old before I realized it. I was good with that till my mother stated to me one day when I went to my parents' house, "I'm a little worried about your future." It seems that she was worried because I didn't have a partner who was thinking about getting married. I was shocked that my mother thought that way because she has always been kind and encouraging to me. Dad as well. Even if he doesn't say much, he nonetheless worries about you. Oh my goodness, Audrey. It is not necessary for you to add anything. That is to say, your sister got married and had a child. If this time you're happy, I'll be relieved. I had no idea that my father believed the same thing. I came to the realization that I had been acting on my own desires without giving my parents' feelings any thought. I have been abusing the generosity of my parents. Of course it's bad to marry for my parents' sake, but I believe I should start facing marriage and love and find a suitable partner to comfort them. I've been thinking about getting married seriously ever then. I used to dress haphazardly in inexpensive clothing and do very little makeup. I made the decision to seek my sister for assistance because I felt that I needed to improve how I looked. Oh, are you in love now? I'm about to experience a romantic fall. What's that about? What's that? Despite her laughter, my sister graciously showed me and her daughter how to apply cosmetics. In order to help me coordinate our attire, she also took me to a few different clothing boutiques. I learned how to coordinate my wardrobe while purchasing a lot of clothing. My sister was a terrific stylist and a tremendous source of inspiration for me because she used to work as a hairdresser. I look so much better than I did before, all because to her. People at work even complimented me. One of my coworkers then approached me and said, "I've heard about this event. Do you want to take part in this?" and gave me access to the website of an unreliable dating service. I chose to go because I felt that this was a fantastic opportunity. Attending the matchmaking party were folks of all different kinds. The sheer number of individuals of all ages who want marriage astounded me. I got to know Joshua at the celebration, and we ended up getting married. I am the same age as Joshua. Since his high school graduation, he has worked as a construction worker. He confided in me that he was desperate to attend college but was unable to secure his parents' approval. They ejected him from their home after telling him to leave as quickly as possible. Joshua has never been in a relationship and attended a guy's school his entire childhood. And he wanted to join the matching party quickly after reaching his current age. It was that narrative that made me feel close to him. Of course, he was in a really tough spot, not like me. He probably endured more difficulty than I did. But that's another reason I found myself drawn to him. We met multiple times and shared contact details. Joshua took his time with me and was very understanding of my shyness. We dated for 2 years before getting married. That was on my 31st birthday. My folks were overjoyed that I got married. I had assumed I should have greeted his parents too, but he declined, saying he had severed all contact with them already. He then requested to become a member of my family. After considering his circumstances, my parents and I made the decision to adopt him. We did not invite his parents, so we chose to hold a small, private wedding ceremony with just our relatives. When my parents saw me in my wedding gown, they started crying. They were very touched. It was when I saw my parents in that light that I realized how glad I was to have married. I've just done my folks a beautiful favor. That was my emotional state. My life was filled with love and happiness when I was married. After our marriage, my spouse looked after my parents really well. I visited them at home quite a bit. "Are you feeling okay, Mother? If you'd like, let's go fishing the next time." It warmed my heart to see my spouse treat my parents with such kindness. But a few years into our marriage, an unforeseen event occurred. I was working at the time. Suddenly, my mother called me. My mother doesn't usually call me at work. There has to have been an incident. Lisa, please go to the hospital. Your dad fainted. No way. My thoughts became empty. My dad fainted? Just a few days ago, I saw him at my parents' place and he seemed fine. My manager said, "Are you okay?" I realized what had happened. I headed straight to the hospital after work. Lisa, Mum. My mother and sister were already come, waiting anxiously in front of the treatment room when I arrived. I said a prayer for my father's survival together with my mother. My father, however, did not survive. He recently died. My father's face was lifeless as he passed away in his sleep. With my father's passing, my mother started crying uncontrollably. Why? Up until this morning, he was in excellent health. I was rendered sadder by witnessing my mother's anguish. I asked her if she could move in with us because I felt like I should do something for her. However, she remarked, "That house is my treasured home, full of our memories. I'm not leaving this house ever." My mother persisted so strongly that there was nothing I could do, even though I was concerned about her. I took better care of my mother and went to her place more frequently. My sister got divorced a few months later and returned home with her daughter. I assumed my mother would be okay as long as my sister could take care of her. This gave me a small sense of relief. Nevertheless, my sister told me my mother had died a few months later. My sister told me that although my mother appeared happy around us, she could hear her sobbing when she was by herself. My sister claimed that despite her best efforts to show her support and engage in as much conversation as possible, my mother remained somewhat distracted. She was getting less and less energetic. She grew weak and stopped eating properly, even in front of my sister. She refused to heed to my sister's repeated attempts to get her to the hospital. While she was at the grocery store, she passed out. It was too late by the time she reached the hospital. Not nearly a year had passed since the death of my father, and now my mother too had passed away. Instead of leaving things to my sister alone, I would have liked to have spoken with her more or visited her. I felt really bad about it. I regret not being more understanding of my mother's anguish and heartbreak. I was so full of regrets. At her funeral, my husband consoled me while I cried and wrote me back, "I'm appreciative of my husband. He is there for me at trying times, and I'm so happy that I was able to get my parents to see me married before they passed away." My sister and I still had a ton of paperwork to complete after my mother's funeral. Taking care of my parents' house was the most crucial task. My sister and I agreed that we would never part with the house that is filled with memories of our parents. My sister and her daughter will remain residents in my parents' home after discussing it. After everything was resolved, we went back to our regular schedule. Abruptly, I received a call from my sister. "Hey, what's the issue? You sound a little weak and brisk." "Actually, a real estate agent came to our house just now." "What? An agent in real estate? Why not?" "Well, he said he came to assist with the house." "What are you trying to say?" "Really, I don't understand either. However, I mistakenly believed that neither you nor I could speak with a realtor regarding this property." "No, no, no. I didn't speak with them. After discussing it, we've made the decision to remain at my parents' home." "I understand, correct? I apologize. I was aware of that. However, I simply wanted to confirm." What then transpired with the real estate broker? I requested them to go and informed him that I had not asked for an appraisal. Who in the world would have asked for an evaluation? "Oh, by the way, I got a business card from the real estate agent." "Are you serious? Please provide the name of the person in charge and the phone number of the company." I called the real estate agent after my sister provided me their contact details. I asked them to put me on the phone with the person in charge and provided them my name, the house's address, etc. Neither my sister nor I made this request. The guy in charge stated when he answered the phone, adding that he had actually been to the property to do an assessment. "Really? By the way, did you know that the client was male? I thought he was your brother because we had the same last name." After hanging up, I walked straight to my spouse. "Hey, Joshua." "Yep, what's up? Did you request an appraisal of my parents' house from the real estate agent?" I questioned him. Then, with a "what's the problem with that?" glare, he answered, "Sure. Why would you act in such way? What makes an appraisal flawed? You know, my mother and father's memories are all over that house. My sister and I just decided not to sell it. Calm down. All I wanted to know was how much it would fetch. For your sister and child to reside in, it's a touch too large. Then, in my opinion, it would be best to sell it, give it away for cash and give it to everyone. I requested an evaluation for that reason. Act less self-centered. How in the hell? Since I'm a member of your family as well, I'm entitled to make decisions regarding the house. Don't be too. You gave me a sense of exclusion. That's not the subject of my discussion. Give up. Don't be critical of my methods. After shouting, "Get out of here if you don't like it," my husband left for his room. Hearing him say this out of the blue startled me. I believed he was sensitive to my emotions. How in the world was he evaluating my parents' home? Was money truly such a big need for him? I hired a detective firm to look into it because I felt that something wasn't quite right. Then I learned something horrifying. My spouse owed a total of $100,000. I was shocked to learn this information. While he was away, I took a day off work and left the divorce papers. I loaded up my stuff and headed out of town. After giving my explanation, my sister and I went back to my parents' house. My hubby gave me a call later that evening. "Hey, what is happening? Everything you owned is gone. What's up with the divorce decree, too? What in the world is happening? I'm moving out and divorcing you. What? How in hell are you speaking? You advised me to go if I didn't like your method, so I did." Yes, that is what I said. However, I didn't imagine you would even consider divorcing me. I no longer have faith in you. That is a great deal for a small quarrel. We fought over the house, but that doesn't mean I'm divorcing you. I am stating that you have been concealing a horrible secret, which is why I am divorcing you. What topic are you discussing? You have a large debt. How were you aware of that? I inquired with the investigating agency. How did you get $100,000 in debt? My spouse finally gave up and told me everything. Well, that's, one of my husband's coworkers claimed to be quite successful at making foreign exchange. He began doing it himself because he was so jealous. However, things didn't turn out the way he had hoped. He so made an effort to recoup his losses, but they only grew. And he became so engrossed in it that he lost a significant sum of money before realizing it. It's unbelievable. How come you didn't quit before you lost even more money? I really apologize. Simply put, I'm prone to this type of gambling. You know, when we first got married, my spouse told me something. His parents had a lifelong addiction to gambling, including lotteries and casinos. Therefore, money is never present in the house. My spouse was astonished to hear me say, "You're doing the same thing as your parents," and he immediately stopped talking. After that, if I've lost your faith, I can never regain it. I then hung up the phone and used my attorney to request a divorce. He repeatedly played the game of saying he would change his mind and ask me to think again. However, I informed the attorney that I would not back out of my divorce request. My spouse finally gave up and signed the divorce decree. The divorce was legally finalized. Not that I wasn't touched by my husband's declaration that he would reconsider. However, I was worried that something might occur later. I continued to stand by my decision to divorce him and follow my gut. And I realized that I had made the proper choice. When I took use of his computer one day when he was away, I had to discover that he had looked up online casinos. To put it briefly, my spouse desired to settle his bills as quickly as possible. He made the risk in the hopes of winning big quickly. Maybe the debt is increasing quickly right now. When I give it some thought, I'm actually relieved we split up. I have a restraining order against my ex-husband in the interim. I can phone the police and tell them to chase him away if he comes to my parents' house. Despite everything that has gone wrong over the past few years, I feel like I'm meant to be stronger now. My sister and I will preserve this house together while I live happily for my parents, even though they are no longer with us. Lisa, you've performed admirably at a really trying time. I thought it was wonderful that you forced your husband to file for divorce by taking a strong stance against his gambling addiction. As you mentioned, it is unfortunate that your parents are no longer with us. Since you are still young, I hope you may be fortunate enough to have a positive experience the next time. Please live a happy life for your parents. We appreciate you viewing until the end.